And welcome back to Insemination. My name is Laura High, your chaotic sperm donor baby of the podcast world, and I am very excited for you all to hear this next episode. Our next guest has a very unique story within the donor conception world. My next guest is Rachel Schiff, who is a double donor conceived person. What does that mean, you may ask? That means this person was conceived with both donor sperm and a donor egg. Their perspective and lived experience is something that is not often heard even in the donor conception world, so I am so excited that they are here to tell us all about their story and their journey. But let's get that good old housekeeping done with first. As a reminder, October 15th is right around the corner. On October 15th in New Orleans, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., I am holding the very first protest for donor-conceived rights outside of the New Orleans Convention Center, where ASRM will be holding their annual conference. And we will be there reminding ASRM that donor-conceived rights and well-being should be their very first priority. Not the clinics, not the cryobanks. To get all of the information on this protest, please visit my website, www.laurahigh5.com. The 5 is spelled out. Then you go to the tab that says protest, and all of the information, the addresses, all of that stuff is on there as well. And also on October 15th at 8 p.m. at the Howling Wolf, I will be headlining that night in New Orleans as well, because hey, after the protest, I believe we're all gonna need a good laugh. Tickets for the show are on my website. Please get them ahead of time because seating is limited. And I'm so excited to announce that this Friday, the 29th, I will be performing for the very first time in Boston. I will be hosting at the Wilbur Theater for my amazing friend, J.R. DeGuzman. If you have not seen J.R. DeGuzman perform, oh my god, you are missing out. Not only is he an exceptionally talented comedian, he is also genuinely one of the nicest people I have ever met. So please come get your tickets. I will see you at the Wilbur Theater. I will be hosting, so I will be there throughout the entire show. I am so excited and I can't wait to see you there. And let's not waste any time. Let's get to the episode. Welcome to the podcast, Rachel. Thank you so much for coming. How are you doing?
You know.
We're going to pretend like I didn't ask you these questions for like the hour before we just like took a walk.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're going to pretend like this is my first time asking you this.
Yeah, no, I mean, it still feels new just because I texted you yesterday about how I was like, hey, perfect timing. I just got another half sibling. And I'm like, I'm feeling emo because he's like, I didn't know I had any siblings. My mom was a stay-at-home, like a single mom by choice. I was an only kid. And he got a DNA test for, I think, like his anniversary with his girlfriend. And he's like, I'm sitting here, I'm just crying because now he has like, I'm like, yeah, there's, 19 of us now. And he's like, oh my God. Oh, wow. And I'm like, here's all of us.
Now, is this a brother? Is this a brother from your sperm donor pod or your egg donor pod?
Sperm donor pod. I am so thankful that my egg donor pod is finite. I sort of like I don't leave it, but I like dealt with that side first just because I'm like, I wasn't sure if there'd be any egg donor siblings. Because,
how do you know it's finite?
Because my egg donor only donated twice. And so are you saying there might be more? Don't scare me.
Well, I'm just curious as to how you know that.
Oh gosh.
Because
now I'm like double thinking.
Well, because oh shit. Because like, do you know how many eggs were collected?
Nope. You're scaring me.
and how many were frozen? And
not at all, because she also didn't know that she donated twice because my half sister is 32. I believe. Sorry, Alex. And me and my twin are 29. And so we're like, she had to have donated twice. And she doesn't remember that. Right? Maybe?
Okay, this is going... I
this
really
is
want
too
to be careful.
medical.
This is like, I want to be careful because I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah.
But if she did 2 cycles...
Mm-hmm.
So she donated twice.
We believe.
So that means she did 2 cycles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would certainly make sense why you and your twin and your sister, but I also know that you can freeze eggs and keep them, and that is a plausibility. I'm
having an identity crisis.
It's again, there's so many I don't know, but I would say I wouldn't use the word finite just in case. Like I would maybe I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm already having a weird week, dude.
I mean, I'm just saying, maybe I might be wrong. But I would say...
I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah, I would say... This isn't real wood.
I'll take it.
This is like IKEA wood.
It'll still count. It's better than nothing.
But yeah, I would just... and it's quite possible.
Yeah.
But it also... I mean, it depends on the clinic. It depends on the bank. It depends on how they run. There's so many variables.
Oh, yeah.
So I wouldn't hang your hat on it, I guess.
I sort of did that 2 years ago. I was like, okay, found my half-sister, found her bio mom, found her kids. That's it, done.
And you just wrapped it up in a little bow,
yeah.
and you're just like,
and I'm like, I have this relationship.
Emotions processed.
Yeah, I'm like, and done. Like, we have a group chat. I texted them earlier today being like, hey, I'm going on a podcast. Everyone's like, great. And I'm like, cool. Love that.
Hi, sibling pod.
Hi, sibling pod.
What's your sister's name?
Alex.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
She's great, except now she might be also having an identity crisis.
I'm sorry, Alex. I owe you all drinkage. Or whatever vice you want. Like, whatever it is, happily.
Next time, she comes out east a lot, which is great. Because, like, we've only known each other for about a year. And so, like, getting to know each other, it's been, like, really instantaneous, which is amazing. Like, we instantly connected. It was when I was living out west in Oregon, so we're, like, in the same time zone because she's out in San Fran.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we, like, had so many calls, and we're like, I feel so connected to you after knowing you for, like, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. And that's something you hear with sibling pods is a lot is like you're like you either there's like no connection, there's nothing, or it is like literally you found a piece of your soul.
That's it.
And that's what I hear like so much of the time. It's like it's very little in the middle. I mean, there are some in the middle, but usually it's more of like it's either or. It's either a very contentious relationship or like how the hell did I live a day without you?
That's how I feel with her. I'm just like I text her like all the time, and I'm like, how did we do this? Like, how did we? Because I always joked when I was a kid, kind of weirdly, I was always like, I always want an older sister because I only had a twin forever. And I was like, having an older sister sounds so fun just to like have someone to like borrow her clothes and like try on her makeup. And my parents are like, well, you don't have one, so stop. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, now I have multiple.
I have
jokes on you. I have so many half-siblings.
I manifested this.
Exactly.
So this might be a really dumb question, and I apologize. Is your twin identical or fraternal?
Has to be fraternal.
Has to be fraternal.
Because I'm assigned female at birth, and he is a cisgender guy. So you have to be. You're not identical if it's different genders, because they have to split from the same, and therefore it's the same gender at birth.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Facts I didn't know.
Yeah, I know way too much about being a twin.
Oh, I'd assume. Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Okay. Yeah. Very cool fact. Interesting. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are my first double donor conceived. Is that the correct term?
That's what I'm calling it. I keep calling it DTCP. And then everyone's like, what does that mean?
You're DCP
I'm like,
squared.
I could be DCP squared, but then I say DCP. Do you know how many people are like, you went to the Disney College program?
Oh my fucking God.
And I'm like, no, there's another acronym for this.
For anyone who just went, what the fuck was that? Yeah. DCP stands for donor conceived person. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And so they're like, are you a DCP? I'm like, I am. And like, me too. I'm like, I did not go to Magic Kingdom.
How? And so you just watch the light drain from the Disney adult's face?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I told you I went to Disney World a few weeks ago, and I was talking about being a DCP, and everyone says, like, and I'm like, not that.
Not that.
It's a lot sadder.
Yeah. This
kind of.
Yeah. This is, I mean,
it's a party story.
I mean, it's a small world after all, really, I feel like touches us in a very specific way.
Too real. Too real.
Little too real?
I mean, if you want to get really creepy, I found out, this is just sort of a side, the sperm donor, that we know where he lives now because we like stalked him on Facebook.
Dun, dun.
He lives right outside of Portland, Oregon.
Oh, shit.
He's been there for the last at least 5 years. And so I have driven past his town so many times when I was living out there.
And
I'm like, isn't this terrifying?
Okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
My family is all from Portland.
Stop. Do you think they could know each other?
They might know. Like, I'm curious. I'm like, now I'm just
I can give you his Facebook later. We'll like do a deep dive.
I gotta check this because of like, for some reason. Okay.
That's a strangest connection I would have ever heard of in my life.
I'm just saying. Okay.
What are the odds?
All right. So for everybody listening, what we're going to do right now is I'm going to edit the podcast like literally at this second, and then we're going to jump back to getting on it. But Rachel's going to tell me the name of their donor if you're comfortable, and we're going to just by any chance see, and then we'll let you know if like actually I do know this person, because that'd be fun. Because
really terrifying.
My whole family's there. I go out there, all the time.
Let's see him. I mean, it's a small world after all when I talk about...
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
He's the guy on the right.
On the I don't recognize him. Not part of my family.
Thank goodness.
Oh my God. It's just like, again, it's a small world after all. Just as a little, I think that's the thing about being DCP is you realize how tiny it is.
If you want to go tiny, I'm going to talk more about the egg side, because that is so much more concentrated, just because it sort of had to be.
Well, before we jump, let's start off with like basic fundamentals, to the basic building blocks to make sure that we're all on the same page. So you are double donor conceived.
I am double donor conceived.
What does double donor conceived mean for all of my listeners who are like, what the fuck does that mean?
Right. Okay, so double donor conceived means that essentially I was created along with my twin brother using anonymously donated sperm and separately anonymously donated egg. They were put into a petri dish, made a bunch of embryos. I want to say at least 10. All of them got shoved up inside my mom, and then they all died except for me and my twin. And then we were born 5 months later. Because I do also want to add they were born really, really early, to the point of like almost not surviving. Wow. So we've been deemed miracle babies since we were born.
Oh, so
I'm feeling great all the time.
So my God, you should be so grateful. What a blessing you are.
I was 1 pound 6 ounces at birth, so every time I tell someone that, they're like, "How are you alive?" I'm like, "I don't know." Joke's on me.
So you just get all of that.
All of it.
All of the like, oh my God, aren't you such a blessing?
Yes.
You get all. Oh,
and then I'm like, I was purchased. So blessing, purchase.
You were double purchased.
I was at least a double purchase, because I know my parents also did IVF multiple times. This was like their last chance. They had us at 40.
Oh, God.
Sorry, Mom and Dad. You're not going to watch this, but just in case you do.
Do you know how much you cost?
No. I mean, it's in the 90s, so like you gotta adjust, right?
I've asked like
I don't want to ask them. I feel like that gets so uncomfortable. I'm like, how much did you purchase us for? Like all of it.
I mean, I've asked my parents like how much did I cost, and they're like, I don't fucking even remember at this point. Yeah. But I know that they were like it.
Easily
I was
$100K.
Yeah, I mean,
for one, I would say.
I would. Yeah, no, it was because it took 3 years to conceive me, so I'm like at this point.
Our parents were married at 30 and they had us at 40.
Oh my God.
So I mean, on the double length, having parents who are 40 years older than me.
Yeah, you were a down payment on a house.
My parents already owned a house. Let's not get into that.
Oh my God.
My parents owned a house before they had us. And I'm like, wow, what's that like?
Okay, well, millennial podcast, that's a different thing than millennial struggles. Okay, so double
donor, egg, sperm. I don't know if I'm considered early or not in terms of knowing.
Well, how old were you when you were told?
I don't remember a lot of my early childhood, which is interesting.
Okay.
But
we'll put a pin in that red flag.
Yep. I do consult my twin because he remembers more than I do, which is convenient. So I have him as my childhood brain. And I believe we were told at 6 or 7, because I remember them telling us and being like, you were very special. We tried really hard they essentially like kidded it down. They're like, you guys are really special. We wanted really, really hard to have babies. We didn't want to have adoption. So we did this, we did this. And they're like, it was super easy to find the sperm, really hard to find the egg for some reason. It was like impossible to find an egg. I don't know if it had to do with like the uterus or whatever. All I know is that
what was it? What was it about the egg donor that they needed? Was there a specific like genetic match or something that they needed?
No, I don't think so. All I know is that my mom was like, it was really hard to find an egg donor, either that met their specifications, or maybe was in the area, because I grew up 2 hours north of here, so I'm sort of lucky that I had both Albany and New York City as like medical places, and so our egg donor was in New York City. Okay, and so I guess she donated. Our parents like got a call. My mom scribbled down some notes about this woman, and then they rushed down and got the egg. So compared to like a little packet that I have for my sperm donor, where it's like, he's 6'2", he was an accountant, he's very handsome, which is weird. I just have like really, really specific piece of information.
Yeah.
Because they were like, she does ballet. She's left-handed. She knows French, which is crazy because my twin and I are both handed. My twin and I are both left-handed. And then both me, my brother, and a half-sister all studied French. Middle school, high school. I studied it through college. I studied it in my grad program. And come to find out, we're French Canadian.
It's the
Isn't it nuts?
Would the right word be like the synchronicities? Would that be the right word?
I think so.
The synchronicities between like donor conceived siblings, donor conceived people, and their donors. Like it really is just like. I mean, again, you want to study the power of genetics.
Oh, yeah.
Study donor conceived people.
I would love
study
to
adoptees.
Talk to me, people. I want to be a part of a study just because with our egg donor also, my half-sister and my twin brother have like the curly hair from that side. I have the sperm donor hair, which is also really interesting when you look at me and my twin.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll show you a photo of my twin later.
I had a moment of just like,
we're drag and drop from our donors.
Well, when you said sperm donor hair, I just immediately went into hair products. And I'm just like, well, there was two ways because either it went into the like something about Mary movie. Or I'm like, oh, and the new hair products, Pantene Pro V, sperm donor hair.
I just think it's so funny.
It's crunchy.
It's so crunchy. Ew. But my egg donor, I also call her my bio mom in like other contexts. But
how do you? When referring to your donors, how do you want me to refer to each of the sperm and the egg donor? Do you want me to say bio mom, bio dad, or bio mom, sperm donor? What do you?
I feel like bio mom, sperm donor is more appropriate just because of what we've been talking about.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
Screw men. I'm kidding. Don't screw men. But my egg donor and my half-sister both had like super curly hair.
Yeah.
There is one salon in New York City that deals with curly hair. They both went to it for years because they both grew up in the same area. Isn't that insane? Then me and my twin were 2 hours north. So we're like the crossover.
It happens all the time. I literally there was a commenter on TikTok that was like, even if, a pod is 100 siblings, the chances of them meeting is so small.
We have all definitely crossed paths.
And I'm like, it exists in literally every fucking pod.
Yeah.
Every pod.
Yeah.
I'm like, it isn't rare. The romantic, having a actual romantic incestual relationship, I do think, yes, that is more rare. It still happens.
Oh, of course it still happens. That is a fear of mine still. Like, I have been specifically looking to date people not in my age group because I'm like, you can't be a half sibling if you're more than 10 years older than me. It just won't happen.
It's
a relief, but then I still have to check them and be like, are we related? I don't know.
My husband, we got DNA tested before we got engaged.
I believe that.
Yeah, we had to.
Yeah.
100%.
That's on my dating profiles. I'm like, you might have to get a DNA test because I don't know.
So, okay. But in terms of you being a late discovery, so you found out between 6 and 7. If I know correctly, and please donor conceive people tell me that I'm wrong, I believe I believe what they now classify as a late discovery is like anything after the age of 4.
I've heard that too.
I think is what it is.
I don't know
anything
if it's
after
true.
the age of 4.
I want to say maybe, but then I'm also like, I want to double check, but then I'm also like, being conceived and born in the 90s, like what were they told then? They were probably told to like keep it a secret.
Well, I think I would say from today's standards, it is considered a late discovery.
Yeah.
When we were created, that is like the fact that we were told at all by our parents, like, and this was like they weren't forced to. That is a miracle. I mean, I was told by my parents at the age of 14. Technically, yes, according to today's standards, I am considered a late discovery.
Yeah.
And I would not recommend that to any recipient parents out there. But I was conceived in 1988. I'm 35. The fact that I was told at 14 is a bloody miracle.
That's how I feel about it.
Bloody fucking miracle.
Yeah, where I'm like, I'm glad I was told. Like my half sister on my egg side wasn't told. They didn't tell her. Yeah. She had an inkling because I'm assuming that people would. Like, I knew that, like, when I was, going through puberty and I was like, I'm different than my parents. Like, not like sort of in a like black sheep way, but I was also like noticing that my body was changing in ways that my mom's body wasn't like. Why? Because we're not genetically related. And then I'm like, I had
people are different.
I mean, I had this like, not an issue, but when I was like getting sort of into puberty, my hair got really thick. Mm-hmm. And so my parents both have like very thin, very black hair. They're just like, you run a comb through it, you're good. And I would do that. And I would cry. And I got a rat's nest to the point where I had to get it cut out at the salon, and I sobbed.
I have never related to anything more because
good God. Okay.
I've never because all my family has pin straight, that super fluffy, soft hair that literally all they have to do is like a comb, and they're just like, and whereas for me, you can't really tell, but like I have like.
Why do you think all my hair's cut off?
Yeah, no, and it's like if I let my hair go, it's a fro.
Oh, I'm like a lion's mane. If I like let it grow out, I'm like.
Yeah,
it gets more yellow, which is crazy and cool. But I'm like, it's so much. I don't want to deal with it. And I just kept going shorter and shorter.
And they were like, just run a brush through it, and all it did was like give my hair more of a circumference.
Oh, I could really just take the comb and go, and then just like stick a whole bunch of combs in my head.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I literally was messaging with a donor conceived person who found out a few days ago, and I was talking to her, and I told her, I was like, take things slowly, take things at your pace, be kind to yourself. And it was like, this is a long process.
Oh yeah,
you are going to be going through waves of emotion over the next like 10 fucking years over this.
10 years, I would say, for like, the rest of your life.
Actually,
I said that to my half brother yesterday too, where he's like, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm like, yep, that makes sense. There's a lot of us. I'm like, do you want to call? I'm like, what are you okay with? He's like, I'm not ready for a call yet. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you just met me.
Listen,
I'm just like, but I want to let you know that, like, I felt like, I'm like, because I already, like, I don't want to be like, it's done on the egg side, because apparently it might not be. But I'm like,
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't think you can sit here and go like, it's fine. I'm like,
I already boxed it.
Like, I'm just saying.
I boxed it, I put it away.
You know the fertility industry at this point. You know the kind of shit they pull. Like, I'm just like, I wouldn't. That's the
You won't knock it.
I wouldn't knock it. I'm just saying, like.
Okay.
Like, we know the shit they do.
I know. I have false hope, false pretenses. I'm just like, I'm hopeful, but I know it's not true.
I mean, do whatever you need to do to make sure that you can like go to bed and wake up in the morning. Yeah. But I'm like, just put that like little bunny baby in the back of your head.
I'm gonna text my sister later and be like, hey, I know we boxed this, but like we may have to unbox.
Just keep a box cutter present. That's all I'm saying.
Safety scissors.
You maybe never need it. You maybe never need it.
Exactly.
But just have access.
In case of emergency.
Have access to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
But yeah, no, I definitely feel that like being kind to yourself and going slow. Like I was telling someone, I'm like, I've been, like knowing most of my family. I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but I did my DNA test in waves, where I did I did 23andMe in December 21, and then I got those results in January. And I was like, okay, that's a lot of siblings, because I had the egg donor side and then I had a bunch on the sperm donor side. And I'm like, this is a lot. I'm going to deal with this. And then I'm like, okay, I found my egg donor. I met my egg donor. I met my half sister. I met my other half sister. I've like talked to a bunch of people. I'm like, okay, it's been a year. Now I'm going to do ancestry, thinking I'd have the exact same siblings. You know what? I had none of the same siblings. Everyone was different.
Oh my God.
And I had to bring everyone together like a little pulley, being like, hey guys, come over here, because
we have to huddle.
No, because they found a sperm donor.
Oh shit.
And none of us knew. And so we were all like, you did what now? And they're like, yeah, here's his Facebook, here's his LinkedIn. We emailed this burner email.
Here, go process this.
Yeah, pretty much.
They gave you a package to be like, have fun.
Yeah. They're like, here's everything we know. And I'm like, great, I know nothing.
Oh,
so we had to, I mean, I don't want to be like, we're all very smart people, but like, the people whose genetics I come from are very intelligent, which is sort of cool, sort of terrifying.
Yeah.
Because like my bio mom has a PhD in neuroscience.
Amazing.
And she does grants with the National Institute of Health.
That's really cool.
Yeah, she's like complete BAMF. And I'm like, I love that. I love that. I come from her and I feel very powerful. And
you should.
Thank you. And then with the sperm donor side, he's like very, not as literary. He's more like numbers stuff. Whereas my egg donor is more like artsy and music. And I think it's so cool that I feel like I sort of have like both brains.
I love that.
In my head, where I'm like, I have that creative side, but I also have the analytical side, because I got my bachelor's in accounting also, along with my sperm donor.
Yeah.
And I found that out when I was 22.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Double donor conceived.
Yes.
Because there's so much. I'd love to like unpack that.
Oh gosh.
As to go to. I mean, I know that this is a big question, and I know there's going to be like, this is part 1 and part 2 and part 3, but like, how has that affected you? What has your journey been like being double donor conceived? Because like, just being donor conceived in general is like, there's a lot to process, especially depending on your story and depending, on who you are.
Yeah.
But double donor conceived is like,
yeah.
I would assume that's a lot to process.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, like I was saying, when I was like going through puberty and I was noticing that like, oh, I'm different than both my parents, I also started to notice more that like my friend really looked like her mom and my other friend looked like his dad. And I'm like, I wish I knew who I looked like. And I mean, I was already like dealing with a bunch of like mental health stuff. And I'm like, this is not helping.
Ew,
so like, not having a true sense of my identity from, birth until I did these DNA tests pretty much. And I found out like who the people are because I got the information when I was 22. And I'm like, this doesn't tell me much. This tells me facts. It doesn't tell me who the person is. And I still felt very like lost and like not grounded.
What if,
Yeah.
What was in the profile? Okay. Was the egg donor and the sperm donor from the same bank?
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
What was in your profiles? What could you have? What did they offer you?
I only really have the profile for the sperm donor.
Okay.
And I had a piece of paper where it had his number. It had about a 1-page bio where it was
a page. Was your donor profile?
Yeah, his donor. Yeah. And so it was like, it was also from 1993, so it looked like it was like typed up. It might not even have been.
Oh, it looked like a typewriter or something?
It might have been a typewriter.
Oh my God, I love that.
I should have brought it. I have it at home. I'm like, it's coveted. I'm so scared to let anything touch it now.
Okay, so it has his number, his bio.
A bio, very weirdly written, where it's like, this man is a handsome and attractive. He likes singing and playing guitar. And I'm like, this doesn't help me. Like, what? And then I think on the other side, it had a drawing of him. Like a drawing where it's like, this is how tall he is, and this is what his ear looks like. And I'm like, I'd
this
like
is what
a photo.
His ear looks like.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean,
it's literally a doodle though. It's not a photo.
It's a doodle.
It's literally just a little doodle of an ear. And I'm like, what good is this? Why are you giving me this?
Someone was like, dude, now profile. Okay, stand still. I need to draw your ear.
Yeah.
Because
that's what we need to know. Is his ear shape. I'm gonna find the photos and I'm gonna send you these later.
Please send me this photo.
Yeah.
Out of anything you could have put on a donor profile.
Ear
shape. Okay. And it's a doodle.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if a picture would have been better, but I would
have loved a photo, if I'm being frank.
Even if it was an ear and you were just like running around going like, I'm trying to match this ear. So it's like this weird donor conceived Cinderella story.
I mean, yeah, that's what I did with my half sister. I'm like, let me stare at your ears. Where I'm just like, do our ears match? I'm like, do you have a widow's peak? What are your ears like? What are your toes like?
So you just started like always paying attention to ears now?
Yes.
Like it became a
hyperfixation
of ears and toes.
Because me and my twin brother, I call them like cell phone bar toes, where it's like the biggest toe and then it goes straight down. No one I know has that toe shape.
Okay.
Everyone else has like the second longer index toe. And I'm like, who the hell has my feet? Like, that's something that I've been thinking about, where I'm like, like as I was like going into being an adult, I'm like, I don't want to be like, where does my body come from? But I'm also like, where do my attributes come from? And I felt so confused and lost about things because there's I don't know, especially when I just like got more into understanding who I am just as an adult.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'd really like to just know my genetic stuff and health history also. Because you know what we were told? We were always told like, oh no, you're perfectly fine. You don't have anything. Like no health
biggest
history.
Fucking lie
literally.
Of the goddamn industry.
And then I got the paper, and on I think on the egg donor paper, it's like, mom has a history of alcoholism. And I'm like, why the fuck didn't you tell me that when I was 18 and drinking and genetic predisposition for addiction? Pretty much.
Ooh.
I would have loved to know that when I was not 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I also found out from the DNA test that I'm a carrier for cystic fibrosis. I'm not planning on having children, thankfully, but I wish I had known that when I was younger.
Yeah.
I've known none of my medical history until I've done these CNA tests.
How, is there anything on the profiles that you have found to be inaccurate?
I don't know so much about the sperm donor just because I don't know as much about him yet. With the egg donor, the things that I had, I believe were true, but my half-sister was told that the donor was Jewish. She is very much not Jewish.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so, you know, like you've heard of people being like, oh, I'm accidentally Jewish, or not accidentally, but like genetically Jewish. I don't know if my parents were told that. I feel like it would have been a positive because I was raised half Jewish. My dad is Jewish. And so I felt pretty connected to Judaism, and I still do. But when I got the test and they're like, you're not Jewish, dummy. And I'm like, oh, that's sad. But on the flip, I also I'm carrying a specific disease that is only in Ashkenazi Jewish people. Have you heard of maple syrup urine disorder?
I have not heard of maple syrup urine.
I only heard about that because I have it. I'm a carrier. It is common.
What is maple syrup urine disorder?
It is very not common. It's very rare. It is usually seen in infants in Ashkenazi Jewish culture, where you basically get really sweet urine and then you die. Pretty much. I'm going to fact check this. Please.
That went from 0 to 100 really fast.
I know there's death involved.
I'm sorry, but maple syrup, I mean, you can't name something that is like death.
Yeah.
A cutesy name like maple syrup. Yeah,
no, like, how do you think I felt when I saw that? I'm like, I have what? They're like, yeah, maple syrup. Yeah, I'm like, that can't be what it's called. They're like, that is what it's called.
That sounds like something like a 3-year-old would make up. You can't give something that's deadly a cute name.
Yep.
That's the new rule, everyone. The new rule, everyone. I'm sorry. That's bullshit.
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, I wish I had, I mean, obviously the maple syrup urine thing does not affect me, thankfully. But I'm like, I still would have liked to know these things.
Yeah.
And then as I was talking to my egg donor, she's like, my daughter has had a bunch of issues just with like her ovaries. And like, I don't know if it's PCOS or something, but that's still something I would have liked to know as like a pubertying adult.
Yeah.
And all that fun stuff.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you're dealing with this from both sides.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I mean, at least for me.
I'm so tired.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that like when I was going through all of this, like, holy shit, who am I?
Yeah.
I could at least sort of hold on to like my mom's side. And
you're fine. That's nice. What's that? What's that like? I have had no grounding whatsoever. It feels very volatile.
Because I remember like one of the first like memories that I had like after I was told I was like sitting with my grandfather and like, you know, leaning up against him, and I noticed like him and I had like the same shape of hands.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that kind of made me feel like a little bit like, oh no, I have a like there I could.
You have a genetic root.
I have a genetic connection.
Yeah.
And that helped me out, and I looked just like my mom, but it was
must be nice.
I know. So but I'm like, I at least had that.
Yeah. Nope. None of that.
And it's like entirely two different like it's like you have it's like you have a massive amount of homework from two insane subjects.
Exactly. Like APUSH and Org Chem.
Yes.
Literally. Those are the two things. I mean, I gotta say, the one thing I am really grateful for is that I do have a full twin. Because I know like 1 or 2 donor conceived people where that's it. Just them. Yeah. And I'm like, even if my twin isn't like, he's not super into this. Like, he kind of cares, but he's not like, you know, like going on a podcast about it.
He's not like us where we're like hyper fixating on sperm and eggs and embryos.
No, he's hyper fixating on everything else. I'm like, you can do that. I'm going to be hyper fixated on this. You do with your own stuff.
I'm happy for him. Good for you. What is that like?
I'm going to send this to him. He's going to be like, I actually care a lot. I'm going to be like, well, you don't make it vocal. But with him, I'm like, at least I have someone else to talk to and be like, what the fuck is this?
How do we process? What do we do with this?
Yeah.
It's
a we, which is, I'm thankful that it's a we.
But even in the donor conceived community, you have a unique story.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I feel like, because I mean, you are donor conceived.
Oh, 100%.
You are donor conceived.
Yeah.
But
on both sides.
On both sides, you are not adopted, but there are elements of that are like you can kind of understand, but you're obviously you're not adopted. You're not part of the adoption industry.
No, I call myself like genetically adopted sometimes to make it like easier on some people. Because that's essentially what I was.
That okay,
kind of.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you are donor conceived. You're also genetically adopted.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody came up to you and were like, "Oh, you're essentially you were essentially born via embryo donation," would you agree with that?
Not at all. No.
Why would you say no, not at all?
I say no, not at all, because I was created by two people who will never meet. These two people do not know the other's name. They are never going to know the other one exists if I can help it, because I feel very weird about that, honestly.
That is actually such a weird thing to think about. Your genetic parents
will never meet.
They created lives
They're
together.
Never going to meet.
And they're never going to meet. They don't even know each other.
They're on opposite sides of the country.
And they have children.
And they have children together.
And that's so interesting.
I hate it. I get really sad because then I'm like, when I think about embryo donation, I'm like, at least it's from two people who know the other one exists.
But I mean, embryo donations got so many problems.
Oh yeah. We're not getting into that bag of worms today.
No. Yeah, because the adoptee community, which I fully agree with, are like embryo adoption is like you're just creating adoptees.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
That's kind of how I feel too. Where I feel like, I mean, I always felt from like when I was younger, I was like, oh, I don't really want to have kids because I'm like, what would I tell my kid? Like, who's my grandparent? I don't know. Who's my grandma? I don't know. Who are my cousins? I don't know. Like, I feel that because I was made in a lab, that I don't really have any draw to like bring on new life, because I feel it's just like, why would I put that on someone else?
I want and not to go clinical or anything, but like I really would be very curious to know. This is where it's like when we talk about long-term side effects of donor conception and how, because there's never been studies on whether it's psychological or physical. This is where I'm like, I really want to know what they find.
Oh yeah,
I want to.
I want to be involved.
Yes, and especially from like somebody who's double donor conceived. I because there are not many, but there are a few of you out there. I would love to understand how this I would say affects psychologically, physically you throughout your entire life. And I'd love to see the constants.
Yeah.
Because it really is like there's so many ethical, moral questions that come up with it.
I mean, I always feel weird sometimes when I get complimented by people, because sometimes I think, oh, this is something that my parents picked specifically from my donor. Like with the sperm donor, they're like, he has really thick hair. He likes singing. I feel like those are traits that my parents specifically picked from this guy. And so I'm like, I feel weird that this is like coming out.
It feels a little bit like a Build-A-Bear situation.
Yeah, I feel very Build-A-Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just sort of like, oh, like I have like hair thickness from this person, and then I'm like musically inclined from my bio mom, and I'm like, it's interesting, it's cool, but then I feel like very aware that I also did not grow up with the people who that comes from.
I think that it comes with this brings on a very interesting subject, because one of the things that I would say I get into debates in, and debate is a very nice word in the comment section, is that people go, well, what's the difference between picking a donor out versus picking somebody to date? And I'm like, there is a difference, and there has to be acknowledged that it is finding somebody who you are genuinely attracted to and going, I like this person, versus I'm going to pay for these traits.
I was going to say, that's the number one thing.
Different things.
Where I'm like, money does not exchange hands, ideally, when you date someone.
I mean, sometimes
you never know. I'm not shaming, but like usually in dating, you do not get paid to date the person. With donor conception, it was solely a transaction. Yeah. Like my sperm donor made it very clear that it was a transaction, that he doesn't necessarily want to have a relationship with any of us. So that's fun.
Yeah, I love. Oh God,
It's so much common in the. I gotta say, being on both sides, so much more common on the sperm donor side. My egg donor, she's lovely. We were terrified to email her. We're like, what if she, doesn't respond? What if she hates us? What if she's a Republican? What if? Look, it's a fear. Like, I've had some half siblings reach out to me, like, hey, don't reach out to so and so.
My donors are Republican too.
I'm so sorry. Mine are. They're very liberal. My bio dad, don't fact check this, but apparently my bio dad works in finance in the cannabis industry. And I'm like, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
That's sick. I'm like, get me in. Nepotism. Unfortunately, I don't think that's how it works. But, oh man, where's it going with this? I had a point.
I feel like we're sort of doing the Jeremy Bearimy timeline right now. I feel like that's what we're. That's
how it feels.
It's so good. I love it. I feel like we're full like neurodivergenting out right now.
Oh, 100%.
And it's fine.
Just eking out.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
I hope you're all following. Okay. All right.
Sorry to anyone else who's just not neurodivergent and is just very confused about what we're doing. Because, I mean, can we talk about how I was saying that everyone on my egg donor side is neurodiverse in some way?
On your egg donor side?
Yes.
So that's
confirmed.
On your egg donor side?
Yes. Not our egg donor specifically, because I don't believe she's gotten tested. But my half-sister egg donated, my twin brother, both of my egg donors raised children. All of us are neurodiverse in some way.
And was this on the donor profile?
Of course not.
Of course not.
No, how would they have known? Because also we know autism is less diagnosed in women, and so it's like doubly an issue. And I only got diagnosed in February of this year, so very new.
Congratulations!
I got a cookie. It was great.
That's a good day.
Yeah, they're like, it's Valentine's
which cookie did you do, Levine?
No, I like the doctor's office. They gave me a cookie. They're like, congrats on the autism. Great. Here you go. And I'm like, I'll recommend them. Like, I highly recommend them.
I love that so much.
They're lovely.
What doctor's office was this?
Gray Matters down on West 22nd.
They give you cookies. This is fucking weird.
They're like queer aligned, women owned. Give you cookies. Okay. The triple fret.
Yes, give you that just wins.
Yeah.
But if anyone, the cookie place that I was just recommended, Levine is my
that's also my go-to.
My husband and we didn't have a wedding cake. We had a tower of Levine cookies.
I love that for you.
Thank you. I loved it for us too. And it was and if I may, my favorite is the chocolate with peanut butter chip, but also recently they came out with a coconut chocolate caramel.
See, I can't do coconut. It's a texture. Again, it's a tism thing. It's a weird texture food thing, but
if you like coconut, I highly recommend. But they're all phenomenal. Every single cookie's amazing, but those are hands down
sweet.
Those are what is your Levine?
Always go chocolate chip. Classic.
The classic one?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it is. The classic
exactly.
is fabulous.
I always feel like I gotta go classic with these places.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, that is a New York City. I think they did actually just open up a store in California. I think they did.
I'll tell my sister.
I think. And maybe in Los Angeles, but yeah, I think so. I might be. But if you're ever in New York City, just go to a Levine. There's a couple of locations. Yep. It's fantastic.
There's so many. It's great.
And it's worth every bite. It's so good. But okay, anyway, back to the thing.
Yeah.
So, your identity.
I'd rather talk about cookies.
I feel like now I'm like, damn, I don't have cookies.
I know. No, we can get some later.
We can totally get some later. Okay, so you
grew up.
So you grew up and you are having this, I feel like, would it be like almost like a tug of war situation?
I would call it a tug of war. I mean, I also don't think I mentioned this live, but when it came to understanding my donors, when my parents told me, they're like, you're really wanted, we had 2 donors. They didn't give me the information on them when I was 7 or 6, however young I was. They were like, just don't tell anybody. Keep it a secret. And I'm like, this is stupid. Why would I keep that a secret? This is really fucking cool. And I went around in first grade.
So you went full neurodivergent and we're like, this doesn't make sense.
No, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to do what I want. And so I went to first grade and I was like,
I did the same.
I like went around to all my first grade kids like with me and I'm like, my mom and dad use donors. And they're like, okay. No one knew what that meant.
I think everyone, when I was 10 years old, I think I literally told the entire school that was like, it took 3 years to conceive me.
I said that too. I'm like, I don't know what I'm really just parroting.
And my mom was like, Laura, sometimes we don't share everything.
Yeah.
And like sometimes we keep things private. I'm like, I don't understand this.
I don't want to do that.
I don't get that.
No, I'm like, I thought it was neat. I mean,
I thought it was cool too.
I sort of joke that it's like a party story that I tell like at parties when I'm like meeting new people.
Dude, that's how I used to flirt with people. It's like, hey, I'm a sperm donor, baby.
That's how I flirt with people now. I'm just like, hey, have you taken a DNA test? But getting back to like, you know, my parents told me when I was little, they did not tell me that the donors were alive. I want to make that point because since they did not tell me anything about the donors when I was little, my little kid brain went, oh, they must be dead. And I made that assumption based off nothing. It was just easier for my little kid brain to be like, they donated, they're dead. And that's it. I'm like, I don't have to look for them. They're dead.
Like,
and then I got the papers.
Are they like praying mantis or something? Like they, you've heard, and it's gone.
Yeah, just gone. I'm like, they donated, they no longer exist. Yeah. I'm like, maybe they died in a fire. I don't know. But it was easier.
Okay, this just became an anti-donation ad. Really fast.
No. I mean, it could be, but not for that reason. They're very much alive. Both of them are very much alive. I must state that. But I didn't think that they were until I got this paper on them when I was 22. And I was like, oh, they're not dead? Blew my mind. It was a coping mechanism. 100%. It was sad. Why are you laughing? Childhood trauma is so funny.
I feel so connected because I'm like, I love so hard that was like where you jumped to. Mm-hmm. I love that so much. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they're dead. Yeah, no,
it's easier. They're dead.
Because I would have. If I knew at like a young age.
Yeah. Would you have also thought that?
100%. And I would have like put together a musical with my stuffed animals about it. And I
didn't go that far, thankfully.
I would have made a Greek tragedy story. It would have been 4 acts. And I would have absolutely had like my American Girl doll sitting there as like my audience being like, okay, and here's the tragedy. Like I know that.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So like imagine growing up thinking the people that you come from are dead. And then realizing at 22, oh, they're very much not dead.
Okay, did you see the movie Frozen 2?
Not all of it. I've seen it in bits and pieces. Why?
Okay, the way you just said that, and everybody like who saw Frozen 2, please back me up on that, is when Olaf says, and they're dead.
I've seen that.
Said it just like that.
Thank you. Josh Gad, hit me up.
That is like the funniest line in that fucking movie.
I've watched those clips so many times, like the little minis, because I love that. I just think Olaf retelling Disney stories is so funny. That was my thought, though, that they were just dead.
They were just dead.
So I was sort of like growing up where I was like, oh, the people who I come from don't exist. La, la, la. Sucks. Don't do that.
I love how that was your coping mechanism.
I didn't say it was a good one. It was one. I talked to my therapist last night. I've had her since I was 12, just to give you an idea. On and off therapy since the age of 12.
God bless.
God bless Amy.
God bless
We love Amy.
We love Amy.
Amy's getting this link immediately.
My awesome Amy. You're great.
Oh, she's like, I'm going to watch a podcast. I'm like, you better. I pay you too much. I'm like, we have a long-standing professional relationship.
Does Amy
here.
also provide cookies?
She could.
Amy, you gotta step up your game.
She's up in New Paltz. Like, she's too far.
New Paltz doesn't have cookies?
They do, but I'm not in New Paltz, and I don't want to go there.
It's
digital. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I'm like, next time I see her, I'll be like, bring me cookies.
Yes.
Because she gave me a weighted blanket one time. Isn't that lovely? She's like, lovely. You need this. I'm like, I really do. Because I like just moved back and I was like depressed as shit. And I'm like, I'm terrible. She's like, here's a weighted blanket for you. And I'm like,
amazing.
Mommy? Sorry. I mean, hey, not knowing my bio mom.
Yeah, so, yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. Do I look for maternal inspo in most older women? Yeah, definitely. Do I look for someone who's more appropriate for me than my actual mother in terms of age range and interest? Yeah, probably. I remember when I was little, I just like, sometimes I'd be like, are you my mom? You know, like the little like dog book when you're like, are you my mother?
Yeah. Oh, the little birdie asking the tractor.
Yeah. Kind of felt like that.
Oh my God.
But again, I thought they were dead. So I'm like,
and
are you dead?
Dead.
And they were dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you thought they were dead.
Yes.
And then at 22, you're like, they're not dead.
Yeah.
And then
I sat on that for a while because I was graduating undergrad, going to work. I'm like, I don't have time to deal with this yet. I'm like, I'm not ready to like do the DNA test or anything. And I just like held on to the documents, and then I just held on to it until COVID hit. And I was living in England at the time, and I had to move back to America.
As you do.
As you do. And so I like moved back to America, moved out to Oregon, and I was like, I feel like I'm finally settled enough to like do a DNA test. Because I was like, I'm 3,000 miles away from my family. I'd like to know my med history. I'd like to like tell doctors something. I'm like, all right, let's like open up the can of worms. So did that, and then the whole thing just started. And now we're here.
3
years later,
and
right?
And
2 years.
If I did COVID? Well, did you do it in 2020?
I did it in 21.
Oh, then yeah, that's
COVID
2 years.
hit. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what time is anymore.
No, I mean, I feel like the time...
It feels so weird, just with all of this.
I feel like since COVID hit, time does not exist. I don't feel like we ever got back on our timeline.
No, I think it's still 2020 in my head a little bit.
It still is. I'm still convinced. I feel like we're all frozen in trauma. Yeah.
I mean, I gotta say, though, if it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't have done the DNA test because I would still be living in England.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't think it would have happened, right? Because I don't know how England's DNA tests go, and I don't think they're linked to America.
This is out of my bounds.
Yeah.
I'm
asking you too many autistic questions. I'm sorry. I'm going too deep.
I'm just saying, I have my hyperfixation places, but we're going into places where I haven't hyperfixated, and I'm like, oh fuck it.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh my god. Okay, so now that you are in the community, you are. You have a pod of 19 and counting.
On the sperm side.
19
and counting.
And then 3 on the egg donor side?
3, not including my twin and myself. I don't know how to count because I made a TikTok recently where I was like, oh, there's 23 of us. And then I realized it was actually 22. Because I forgot how to count.
That's good. That's okay.
It's great because there's some I keep forgetting about. Apparently there's a spreadsheet and I need to get access to.
Every single goddamn pod has a spreadsheet, and that is one of my favorite things.
We have been joking about making a PowerPoint, like an intro.
Yes,
hello,
I fully support
welcome
this.
to donor group blank. You are number blank of this number. Here's the families. That. And then because almost, I don't know about your pod, but almost all of us are at least twins.
Really?
A lot of us, yeah. There's like 3 sets of twins and then 2 triplets.
Shit.
Yeah. At least. Like as far as we know of so far.
So not for me.
Yeah.
I will say though, most of my pod has no interest in talking.
Oh.
I only have one sister who wants to talk. Everyone else is no one in my pod except for me was told.
Oh no.
So right now I think it's just everyone dealing with trauma.
Yep. That would do it.
I think it's just everyone dealing with trauma. So
yeah.
I'm hoping maybe in a certain amount of years I'll get a call from brothers and sisters going, hey. Although to be fair, I was realizing
I kind of did that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't want to think about you yet. Because I'm like, there's too many of you. I'm focusing on this side first.
And I realized this because like one of my sisters was the one who initially reached out to people, and then I got my first brother came in, and so I was the first one to reach out.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and then I realized if he Googles me, that might be really overwhelming. Because I'm like, that's
like your shtick.
That's
your bread and butter.
I'm on the internet running around the Capitol building in a fucking sperm suit. That might be overwhelming for some people who are discovering their donor conceived for the first time. Yeah. And they might just go, no, thank you. And we're done. We're done. Thank you so much. I'm realizing like, oh shit. And so I have to figure out a different way of like maybe a different sibling, like maybe my other sister, because right now she's having some health issues. Yeah. But like when she maybe she needs to be the one,
like a welcome committee.
Maybe she's the
we have a welcome committee where it's just like me. You might have to like designate that. We don't have like designated people, but we have like our little group of like we're gonna reach out if we see we get a new donor or new sibling.
I do worry that it might be a little overwhelming because
I think so. Like, in any situation, it would be overwhelming.
Well, and I mean, I know, and for a different situation, it's overwhelming is like, the people who find they're a part of like Dr. Klein's pod.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the welcome committee is Jacoba, and like, thank God Jacoba's like literally the sweetest fucking human being.
Yeah.
But it's still like that's
a lot.
That pod is like, being part of that pod is like, oh, that's overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
That's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But yeah, I did realize that like anyone realizing that I am their sibling, it might be a little bit like, and she's a lot.
Yeah.
She's a bit much.
See, I feel that way about me as well, but that's just, I'm not as an advocate as you, I'd say. Like, I got really involved recently. Like, I've been talking with the USDCC, working with the DCC, doing some videos with like an embryo company.
Love it.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm like starting to get my toe in. And I'm like, I feel like I can like talk more confidently about this to new people and be like, here's the industry. Here's what's up. But also, here's me as a new sibling. I feel like coming at both sides, that can be like a lot.
It's the advocacy is a whole different realm of it. And it's so interesting because like some donor conceived people are literally, they come in and they are just like immediate, like, what the fuck can I do?
Yeah.
And then others are like, absolutely not. I need to like take this at a really like, I just need one little bead at a time.
Yeah.
And it's just very interesting, like seeing everybody's different reaction to it. And then there's a lot of people who are like, I'm not fucking touching this.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I mean, that's all fair to them.
That's legit.
It's legit. Just, it's always a lot when you get a new 23andMe notification.
So I want to ask the big controversial question. And I want all of my listeners, anyone who's listening to this, we are going to respect this opinion. We are going to respect it because this is their lived experience.
Yeah.
Okay. We are going to respect this.
Thank you.
And we're going to be kind. Okay?
Don't cancel me, please. I have a very small following. I built it up for years.
What do you think double donor conception is ethical? Do you think that it is something that should be an option? And I understand this is a nuanced big question.
It really is.
If this is I'm not expecting a yes or a no. But I'm curious to know what your feelings are on this.
I mean, I can tell you just with my existence, I wish I wasn't created this way. Because growing up, not knowing my genetic identity, even if I had known who these people were, I still feel like double donation, I just don't think it's a way that a child should be brought up. Because like we were talking about, you had a genetic connection with your grandpa. I did not know that. I still don't know that. I only met with my genetic parent for the first time this year. And I feel like that's something that I don't think kids should be subjected to. It's hard,
No, that's legit and fair. Now, I know because I do know that I have some recipient parents listening who do have double donor conceived children who I'm sure
we're still going to exist,
Well, and I know right now their heart is sinking into their stomach right now. So I would love for you to now, in this instance, is what is important for those recipient parents who have those double donor conceived children? What are the most important things for them to know?
100%. Share information about the donor as early as possible, as often as possible. Make it sort of a part of their narrative. Because the way my parents did it, they didn't talk about the donors at all. And so I feel like the way that they talked about us being donor conceived was non-legitimate. They kept saying, they still say things where they're like, oh, you get your hair from your grandpa, who is my dad's dad. And I'm like, no. They're like, oh, it's so good that we all like don't have food allergies. And I'm like, yes, but no. So I'm like, I mean, first of all, legitimizing the fact that your child is double donor conceived, number one, like respecting that, I'd say, making them feel
not covering it up,
not
sanitizing it.
Exactly. Not like, I don't want to be like whitewashing, but not like prettifying it. Like it's a legitimate thing. And I feel like, first of all, you have to talk about it just to make it understood from your kid.
Yeah.
And then I'm hoping now that there's like more options with like photos and information sharing that might be more accurate than what happened in the 90s. Shut up. Let me be hopeful.
Okay.
Let me assume.
I will be hopeful when we see regulations passed.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not leaving it up to the banks and clinics' discretion.
Nope, that's fair. And we know how good those banks and clinics are.
They're awesome. They totally
They don't have fires.
They don't. They don't. Were you told that shit went up in fires?
My half sister was.
Oh,
someone else is told a flood.
Okay. Just to catch everybody up. This is like one of my favorite things. So this is like one of my favorite. This is very common. This is like my favorite common thing that we all experience. Okay, so and this happened to me too.
Yeah.
Is we call the donor can see people.
Oh, I emailed.
Or emails. Yeah. And this also is very common with adoptees as well.
Oh, I bet.
When they call up like the adoption agency.
Yeah.
So we call up our clinic and cryobank saying like, I would love medical history. Can I have my donor profile? Whatever. And the amount of us, including myself, who are told, oh, your papers don't exist anymore. They went up in a fire.
I wasn't told a fire. I was just told we have no record. And I'm like, how do you not have a record when I exist?
That at least sort of honest.
No, it isn't.
Well, it's like we don't have it because they deleted it. At least they're saying like, we don't fucking have it. Sorry.
I mean, they're like, you need to give us this form that proves that you were a donor conceived person. I'm like, how would I have this form when I didn't exist yet?
How can I prove it if I don't have the fucking paperwork?
Literally, I'm like, I can do a blood test. I can do so many tests. But document-wise, I got nothing.
Which flood is it? Because I know that, like, well, because and also
California.
California flood. Because I know that, like, a lot of the industry uses Katrina as a reason that, like, a lot of the information is gone.
That's so stupid.
I mean, let's take one of like.
I mean, I'm sorry to anyone who was affected by Hurricane Katrina, but like, there's no way.
Well, I love how it's also like I love how the industry like took a horrific human travesty that killed and made so many people homeless.
Oh yeah.
And the fertility industry was just like, oh, an opportunity.
We'll just take that.
We can use this. Like, let's ruin more lives.
Love it. No.
I'm like, yeah, they use Katrina as like a reason why so much of our shit is. And so that's why I was curious if it was Katrina or not.
I haven't heard Katrina. I feel like it'd be earlier than that. Something in the 90s.
But yeah, they floods and fires. Yeah. As I always say, there is a arsonist running around.
Just going to fertility. Just going.
Really like aiming for
DCP.
Just really aiming for those clinics and cryobanks going, yeah. Burn, baby, burn your sperm.
Secretly, it's all the donors. Could you imagine?
Oh my God.
Serial arsonist donor. That would be a story.
God, don't give them more ideas.
Okay.
God, they're so great.
I'm not. But
do you
like
follow?
Netflix?
Do you follow the serial donors at all? Do you track them or like stay?
I can't.
Yeah.
I saw
they are
the Honey one.
The what?
The Honey one. The guy who was on Humans in New York.
Oh yeah.
I got shared that, and everyone in my group was like, disgusting.
Yeah, that one was like that was a
Still, I get like physical, like ugh.
Yeah.
I do not follow them otherwise.
Yeah, that's probably the serial donors are just they're so grimy, they're so gross. And they think that they're
like the best things in sliced bread.
They really do. Well, I mean, hence why they spread themselves all over, like, you know. But and the thing is, it's like they think that they're this high quality butter when they're just like
margarine,
the bad margarine.
Yeah, like dollar store margarine.
Oh God, yeah. That like fell into the dirt while you're trying to put the groceries in the car.
Oh yeah, and you're like, this is fun.
Yeah,
also spread on toast.
They're from the container of butter that eventually is going to just become another piece of Tupperware.
Yep.
That's what they are.
That's what they are.
Oh God, they're gross. I don't like them.
That's why I don't follow them, because I'm like, I feel like my life is a mess, and I'm like, I can't do more.
One of the donors, and I know he listens to me. Hi, I won't name you yet. He pre-blocked me. He pre-blocked me, and I'm just like, that is adorable. I still know you exist, dude. Like, I'm very aware. I'm like, I'm
so nervous about my donor blocking me.
Yeah,
because I mean. Yeah, like you never know, right?
I mean, I've now reached out to my donor twice.
Yeah.
One of my donor conceived siblings reached out to him once, and he has been like,
no response. Or he's been like, I'm not interested.
No, there's just no response. Like total ghosting. I think because for him, he's worried if I do any form of a response, then like I'm admitting it. And that's why so many just don't respond.
Right.
Because then it's in a form of an admittance.
Yeah.
And it's like. Dude. Dude.
Like, why not just take responsibility for your actions? Oh, is the camera off?
Oh, no. That's just the screen.
Okay.
No, because the red light means it's still rolling.
Perfect.
It just means that we can't see ourselves in the monitor.
I like looking at myself, though.
I know.
My egotistical. Get my good side from both my donors.
Because that's the genetic mirroring we can get.
Yeah.
Is in the mirror.
Didn't mean to whack the mic.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We're everywhere.
Where are we? Okay.
Where are we?
We're somewhere. Or I don't know where we are in the
Jeremy Bear Me.
Yeah. I feel like maybe we're on the B right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are. So okay, we went through the.
We went like forward and then backward.
We did.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you, when you are relating to donor conceived people in our community, do you feel kinship in our community, or do you, because your story is so unique, you're like, I don't even know if do you feel a connection, or does it feel still different?
It's kind of both.
Okay.
Like, when I found the donor conceived community, I was immediately like, oh my God, I'm not alone, because I'd only known me and my twin, and I like didn't know anyone else was even one or the other. And then I was like hoping that it would be more of an even mix where it's like some egg, some sperm, some embryo, some double. And then I find that it's mostly sperm. And I'm like, well, that's fine. But I still feel sort of weird in the community, because I'm like, I mean, I said this to my half siblings where I'm like, I'm kind of jealous of all of them because they were all raised by a parent who they're genetically related to. Yeah. And again, I had the no rooting. And so I'm like, I feel like double donor conceived people are, I don't want to be like, we're so rare, but
you are rare.
We are. It feels weird to like pedestal it.
No, but I don't feel like that's pedestaling it. It's acknowledging a fact.
Yeah.
Because in the same way that there are like egg donor conceived support groups.
Yeah.
Because that is its own thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that makes sense. And in the same way, you're double donor conceived. You're not pedestaling it. You're acknowledging a fact that it is different.
Yeah.
And honoring that lived experience, because yes, you and I are donor conceived, but like there's a lot about your experience that I don't share.
Right.
And that's a very understandable acknowledgement.
Yeah. And I feel sort of weird talking about it sometimes, just because I'm like, I feel like with the donor conceived community, there's so much importance. And then I'm like, I don't want to like overstep, or like, this might just be like me being too autistic, where I'm like, I don't want to like take over a conversation by being like, well, what about the double donor conceived people? But I'm like, I'm also like, I don't know how many of us there are. I can say I know a grand total of 2 besides me and my twin in terms of the group.
Yeah.
I don't know how many there are. I feel like it's really uncommon.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure as time goes on, more and more are going to pop up, and there will be a decent group of you, but it will
eventually
always be a smaller group within the donor conceived community.
Yeah.
But when you tell your story, and you tell your story, I would say publicly to strangers, what are at parties, what are the things that you are told that you would just love the general public?
The bingo card.
We need a bingo card.
We need an actual bingo card. I'll make one.
What are the things that are said to you that you are just like, people, society, public, please stop?
Yeah.
What are those things that you would love people to understand that this is not helpful, it is not supportive, it is not true? We just shut your lips from flapping. What are those things?
Oh God, there's so many. First one, it's like, oh, that's cool. Just like flat out. I'm like,
so they respond to it like, I play tennis. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like, it's more than that. They're like, no, that's neat. I'm like, I'm kind of traumatized.
Mittens are neat.
Yeah, like my existence being a transaction, not so
not
much.
Neat.
Not neat. Like, yeah, mostly when I tell people, I feel like they don't understand like the grandiosity of the situation.
No, they don't. There's so many people who just are
they're just like, that's cool.
The amount of cognitive dissonance there is with donor conception.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to me.
I mean, I've also, I was talking to my science teachers when I was younger, and I was like, oh, like talking to my bio teacher specifically. I'm like, what do we know? What do you know? And I'm like, this is me. She's like, oh, don't you like share stuff with your mom though? Because you're in her body in the umbilical cord? And I'm like, no, that's not how that works.
Have you gotten that? I have such a fucking bugaboo about that. Oh,
it pisses me off so much.
It pisses me off so much.
I'm like, that's not how DNA works.
Because I see it all over TikTok. Because they're selling it to recipient parents.
Oh, 100%.
As like, you know, if you do like egg donor conception or like anything where
that is just a flat out lie.
Where you're carrying a child that you are not genetically related to.
Yeah, like a surrogacy.
Like, well, I mean, like you could be like, and you know, if you're going to be the mom of an egg donor conceived person, like whatever it be, or maybe you're carrying the egg of your partner, whatever it be, and they sell it to them like you're actually like sort of another genetic parent.
You're not,
because
you are not,
because the baby is like, you know, taking in stuff and stuff like that, and
flat out lie,
and I'm like, it's not true.
That's just not how DNA works.
I flip the fuck out when I see those. It does.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm like, one, it's the industry actively taking advantage of
1,000%.
recipient parents and just feeding that toxicity and feeding the infertility trauma.
Yeah. That's the biggest part of it. It's the infertility trauma. Because I feel like my parents were like, we need kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, how much? You know, how much you want to pay for those kids?
Yeah, yeah, and there's never maybe like a moment of stopping of going like, should we rethink this? But like, no, let's just feed the trauma
literally
as much as possible. Let's just keep throwing money at it. But yeah, no, those videos drive me crazy because it's like you're not. And it's not to downplay the importance of carrying a child. Like that's a huge thing to be pregnant and to carry a child. Like that itself to me is enough.
Right.
You're carrying the child. You're literally growing them inside you. It's going to alter your body forever. And absolutely you taking care of that child is absolutely going to affect them. But you're not a genetic parent.
You're not the genetic parent.
You're not the genetic parent, and that's not, and it's like
it's not like a negative either.
It's
just
not
a fact.
negative. It's just it's
a fact.
But the fact that people take it as a negative,
isn't that weird?
Is very telling. It's very telling, and I'm like, interessante.
See. Yeah, that is like I feel like my number one thing besides you were so wanted. And I'm like, that's just a bingo card right there. And I'm like, yeah, I was, but then we're gonna get into
you just made every DCP listening to this just throw up in their mouths a little
bit.
Sorry,
I know we've all heard it.
We need a trigger warning for that.
Trigger warning, just
trigger warning.
No, that I feel like those are like the top three that I always get. They're like, you were like your parents really wanted you. You must feel so loved. I'm like, I don't. That out like
that is not helpful to me in the least bit. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you for your unwanted opinion about this thing that you're not educated about whatsoever.
And you always get the most opinions from people who have never thought about donor conception a day in their life.
Oh, and then when you get to telling people about how many siblings you have, and they're like, "How is that legal?" And I'm
that's so cool.
I get that too, and I'm like, "Is it? I just found my brother yesterday.
I don't like
that's not normal."
And I'm like, I'm part of a litter. That's not cool.
I'm part of a football team. Like, that's not great.
What position on the football team do you think you are in your pod?
I'm too gay to know this.
Because I was like, I asked you that question. I'm thinking like, I don't know the fucking. I know quarterback.
Why did you ask me that? I was gonna say like goalie. Goalie. I play tennis. That's the kind of gay sports I do. Is tennis and bowling. Don't know football.
I love this so much.
Thank you. I make my therapist laugh too. I'm like, this is great. I can at least bring humor. If we can't laugh at ourselves and like,
well, I feel like, well, I mean, it's why for me, like, I definitely believe in obviously the healing power of humor, because I'm like, what the fuck else do we have?
I know. I just keep making jokes about it because I remember when
what else
can I do with this? No, like when I got like both donors, like I figured them out. I was talking to my therapist because I was like having a breakdown because I'm like, this is it. I'm like, there's no more parents to find. That's it.
That one's finite.
I was so relieved.
There you go. That one is the finite one.
I'm like, at least there's a finite here. Because I was so like up in the air about everything. And I'm like, I can't find any more parents, Amy. And she's like, good for you.
I also, I love the neurodivergency of this project is done.
Yeah.
We can
put it up there.
Check. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love that. Next.
On to the next
project. Let's go. I love that.
Yeah, that's how my brain goes.
You can't finish the I love that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think. I feel like those are like the biggest things in like my little DCP bingo card, where it's like you were so wanted, DNA,
DNA doesn't make a family.
DNA. I haven't gotten that. I've heard it. I haven't gotten it.
I get it a lot. I get a lot in my comment section, and it's also, and it's one of those things where it's like, no, DNA doesn't make a family.
Yeah.
DNA also makes a family.
Yeah.
Both are 100% true, and both are valid, and people feel differently about both, and both are valid. It does, like,
yeah,
I have both. Like, I have my genetic family who I love and I adore, and I love our genetic connections. But then like I also have like my my roommate who I've been living with for 15 years.
Yeah.
They are my sibling. Yeah. Like at this point, like this person, like they are my person. They are my human.
Yeah.
When I got married to my husband, I was like, I love you so much.
Yeah.
Becca is my person. You need to understand this, okay? My person, my chosen family.
Exactly.
And I can understand and I appreciate, and also as somebody who is married, my husband is also my chosen family.
Right.
So I get it, but also it's like, no, all of it is valid.
I know. I feel
all
like
of it is valid.
It's all valid, and I feel like more of like the issue with being donor conceived, it's like keeping the DNA part from them, where it's like you don't have the right to find out the information.
It's
because like the only reason I found any of my siblings, either of my parents, was because I specifically sought them out. Like, you know, none of this was like handed on a silver platter. Like, here you go, here's your family. Like, you have to be very active, I feel like, to want to really like learn about it, which is in of itself really exhausting.
It is. Well, it's exhausting. It's extremely, there's so much emotional labor, and it's financially, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It adds up very quickly because if you're doing a bunch of DNA tests, if you have to go to a genetic counselor,
therapy. I'm actually looking, I have a few that I'm looking for that are like donor conceived specific therapists.
I don't know if they exist yet. I know that
I'm gonna show you what I have on my phone later.
Okay, because I know that people who
they were like in the realm of like adoption, DCP.
Well,
like a similar thing, but not specifically just DCP.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like there is training in terms of like dealing with trauma from adoption.
Yeah, but
DCP specifically, because again, we've not had any long-term studies on DCP, so that's why it's like they're kind of really can't be yet because no one's
too new.
No one's invested in learning about us yet.
Oh well, here we are.
We're here.
We're here.
We exist.
I'm willing and ready to help. Like,
and we are a giant pain in the ass.
We are so annoying.
We are so annoying.
I'm like, are we two of the more annoying DCP? Because we're so vocal.
I mean, people in my comment section are like, "You're annoying." I'm like, "That's fair." Like legit. I'm not going to deny that. I'm 100% fucking annoying.
For you.
Thank you. I'm like, I mean, I'm a DCP advocate plus add in stand-up comedy. Yeah. I'm annoying as fuck.
Oh, see, I work in marketing and I'm considering doing comedy and I do like Twitch stuff on the side. So I'm like, I'm just very vocal and loud. I'm like, I was brought up with like being like, I'm a leader. I'm very vocal. Like, I want to make sure that like I am represented. And I'm like, well, this is me, you know, queer, donor conceived. I'm like, queer stuff is its own. And I'm like, donor conception is still really new. And I feel like, especially with it being like more popular, like with the Netflix show and everything, I feel like people are becoming like more aware of us.
Well, I mean, we have mobilized so quickly. I mean, the Donor Conceived Council is only 2 years old.
Oh, shut up.
Right.
Really?
Yes.
Good for them.
No, but that's how fast that they mobilized.
Yeah.
And it's all due to a lot of it is actually the pandemic, but it's like it's due to genetic testing, and it's due to social media on how we've all found each other.
Yeah, right.
And we're coming in at a very quick rate because our stories are getting out there.
Yeah.
And you know, we're sort of like dropping little Easter eggs from people going like, if your parents said this to you, if you felt this, maybe you should get a fucking DNA test. If you have that one uncle or aunt that keeps giving you a DNA test for Christmas, take the fucking hint. They're trying to tell you something.
I have a really funny story that I just thought of. I was on the bus a few weeks ago and I saw a girl who looked so much like my half-sister. I wanted to be like, do you know who your parents are? And I texted her. I'm like, there's a girl who looks exactly like, could be our sister. She's like, do you want to like go up to her? And I'm like, no. Why would I do that?
Are you my sister?
No, it's sort of like a Mormon thing where it's like, have you heard about our Lord and Savior? A DNA test. And I'm like, I'm not doing that to her, but you never know where these people are.
Well, I mean, it's the amount that I think about of like, have I, there's so many donor conceived people who went to school together.
Oh, yeah.
And who were childhood best friends, were neighbors. I mean, it's one of the I had DNA Angels come on, and they said that like, oh no, when we've helped connect siblings, some of the people have realized their childhood crush was their sibling.
No, I'm so glad that most of my siblings are pretty spread out. Like, that's the one thing I'm grateful for. When I heard like where most of my sperm donor siblings were, they were mostly like in the middle of America. And I'm like, how'd I get out here? Because I grew up in upstate New York. So I'm like, how'd that work?
So I think I have way more local siblings. So it's interesting because my siblings that I have found so far, I have found one in New York City.
Ooh.
Only one.
Yeah.
But then the other ones have been in Tennessee and in Seattle. And I'm like
born there, or are they there now?
Tennessee was, I think it was born there. It was not New York City. I don't know about the Seattle one.
Yeah.
But I do have a brother who is in New York City. And I'm like, and my donor was donating for 6 years.
Oh my God.
In New York City. So I'm like, where are my New York City siblings?
There's going to be so many.
There's going to be.
There have to be.
Well, and he was a med student and then continued donating when he was an OBGYN. So
I'm sorry. I'm just shocked that he was an OBGYN. And
he's still an OBGYN.
I'm sorry. What?
He's still in practice. And he
nope. He's physical.
And he's a rabbi and a moil.
Mazel tov. How do you feel about being half Jewish?
Okay, so I am.
Happy Rosh Hashanah, by the way.
Well, I was conceived on Rosh Hashanah. I was conceived.
You're so Jewish. I love that.
Well, because
I was conceived right around Christmas.
Well, did you know? Okay, I know that like some of my listeners have heard this, but if you haven't, my conception, and because I don't know if they know this part about it. So my mom had full reconstruction surgery and then was ovulating during Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, and so she was like, okay, we're ready. And my doctor was like, we can't. The clinic is closed because of Rosh Hashanah.
Jewish, yeah.
And she was like, I'm and you have to like, she's 3 years of like hormone therapy. Yeah. So the woman's like in total fucking pain. Yeah. And he said, don't worry, we'll figure it out. What we're going to do is the donor is going to drop the sperm off at a hotel concierge. You'll go pick it up and then inseminate it with your husband. So
what?
All on Rosh Hashanah.
All on Rosh Hashanah.
All on Rosh Hashanah. So
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. So so my clinic, which was closed because of Rosh Hashanah, he got my donor, who is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish, to go drop it off at a hotel, pick it up, and then go. And I'm just like, and I did talk to one of my donor's cousins, and she doesn't talk to him anymore. But she was like, I assume he probably went out of his way to go do that as a
mitzvah,
on Rosh Hashanah. Be like, okay, new year, new sperm, and was like, here you go. That was a part of it. And so
oh man, I thought my donor conception story was weird. At least I wasn't conceived.
I was conceived. Well, I wasn't just conceived Rosh Hashanah. Yeah. I was conceived on my dad's desk on Rosh Hashanah.
How do you know this?
Because my parents talk too much.
I'm glad my parents don't tell me anything.
Actually, I love that my mom overshares with me.
Yeah.
No, she was like, because she tried so hard to make it sweet. She was like, and I picked up this, and I love the fact that.
And they told you this when you were a kid, probably, right?
No, I learned this when I was in my 20s.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I learned I was donor conceived at 14, but they didn't tell me this story till I was older.
Yeah.
So the donor dropped it off in a little paper bag at the hotel concierge. She went and picked it up and then went to my dad's office.
Yeah.
And I got inseminated. And so then my mom put her legs up on my dad's couch while he went back to his spreadsheet. And I'm like, hold on, wait a second. The clinic was closed because of Rosh Hashanah. Why was father working?
I was going to say, why was he working?
My dad was a madman. He was in advertising in the 80s. So that's a whole different cultural thing.
Yeah.
My dad was an account guy. So that was a different culture. I don't know.
Oh, I hear you.
I asked my dad, I was like, Dad, how close was Mad Men the show to what you did? And he was like, oh, it was exactly that, just more cocaine.
Oh, I was gonna say. I didn't want to be like, your dad could code, but...
Oh, no, it was a fucking... Yeah, of course he did.
I love this. I'm learning so much about your dad. He seems great.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was... But yeah, so, yeah.
Again, Jeremy Burmy.
But yeah, Jeremy Burmy, Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. We're all Jewish now.
But yeah, and so it's just like, I love the fact that, but then I was raised Catholic, which I'm like,
really?
I was, which I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It's just so not what I was. It just goes against everything that
like your morals. Yeah.
That went into, well, I joke about how, because I grew up really Catholic.
Did you go to a Catholic school?
Yes, I went to a Catholic school. I received all of my sacraments through confirmation.
I don't know what that means. I'm too Jewish.
It's anyone who's Catholic will go like, oh my God. So for anyone who's wondering, my confirmation name is Lucia. I was an altar server.
Or med.
Altar server, like, it's the little kids who help the priests out at like during like church and stuff. Like we hand them like the one.
Don't go to church.
It's like
You're saying things that I have no context for.
This is gonna get really, really dark really fast.
Let's go.
Okay. Altar servers have been the people who have been the cases that have been brought up again. That's the altar.
Yeah. That's what I figured. I did not want to assume, but yeah.
I was not.
I'm very glad to hear that.
I'm very glad as well. I was not. I actually thoroughly enjoyed being an altar server. For anyone who will get this out there, I, as a theater kid, just looked at being an altar server as I get to be the star of church.
I love that.
I was like, because there are costumes and there's choreography. I fucking loved it. I was way too into it. I was like, I'm a Jesus Christ superstar.
I consider myself Jewish, and where I'm like culturally Jewish, not religiously Jewish. Like, I understand the text. I consider myself like religiously an atheist, but I still follow like a lot of the concepts in Judaism. And I'm like, I feel like even though it's something that I'm not like genetically tied to, it's still like very much a pillar of my existence because that's how I was raised. Well, I mean, which is so cool conceptually.
That is, I mean, it's the piece about Judaism that I love, and I mean, it really is like studying how like the ethno-religion aspect of Judaism and being Jewish and what that means is just, it is very beautiful. Yeah. And I mean, I'm still trying to figure out my identification and my piece in it. Oh, yeah. Because how I have said it is like, I feel like a guest in a house that I live in. Yeah. Whereas like, because I have not converted, I have not taken that on. Yeah. I am talking to a rabbi and I am like, you know, sort of like, do I want to like, I'm not, I'm still exploring it. Yeah. I think for me, what a lot of it is, I'm still dealing with a lot of like the trauma of being Catholic, that a part of me is like, I don't want to identify, I don't want to like identify as anything, like give me a moment. But I may at some point go down that. But for me, like, I mean, I've experienced anti-Semitism my whole life, so I've had that. Oh,
which I get not the opposite, which is weird, because then I tell people I'm Jewish, they're like, but you're blonde and have a small nose and you're white, and I'm like, yeah.
Like, one, not all Jews look alike. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. But then it goes into the whole, like, cultural versus whatever, and I'm like,
but even still,
I'm sort of like, am I Jewish?
But even still, genetically, not all people who are Ashkenazi look alike. Yeah. Not all people are Sephardic look alike. I mean,
yeah. It's just so wild.
It is, and you know, it's a complicated, nuanced discussion. But I do think that the donor conception aspect into it does add a fun little twist.
It does.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's complicated, and it's I'm still figuring out what it means to me and what I'm on my journey with it.
Yeah, fair.
So yay.
Yay, journeys of adulthood.
Journeys of fucking donor-conceived adulthood. Oh my God. Okay. We are at about an hour and a half.
Sweet.
So we are gonna wrap this Jeremy Bearimy up.
Let's do it.
And is there any final thoughts? Anything that you're just like, you haven't said that you feel like is so important for people to say, that is so important to be said, that you're just like, this must be heard by the public?
I mean, there's one thing I didn't talk about much, I think, which is when I met my egg donor for the first time, because that was something I wasn't anticipating ever happening. And we met at a coffee shop on the Upper West Side. It was cold, January.
Which coffee shop?
I will send you a link later because I don't remember.
Okay.
I know it's
What
in
street?
the 70s.
It was in the 70s?
West 79th,
Okay.
maybe? Not Save Bars. Near Save Bars. I don't know. I'll look.
Oh, there's some good places in that area.
Irving. No. Irving something maybe starts with the night. I don't know. I'll look.
No, there's a comedy club, West Side Comedy Club around there, so I'm in the area.
Gotcha. Yeah, so like I remember going and I like stopped before I went in because I'm like, this is gonna be like a change because I never thought I'd see this woman and now I'm gonna like hang out with her.
This is gonna be a milestone moment.
Yeah, I'm like, this is like a step. And I remember pausing and I'm like, okay. And then I went in there and we hugged and I cried because I'm like, she's my height. We're both left-handed. It's so nice. I could see my face in her.
It was the first time you got to genetic mirror.
It was the first time I had a genetic mirror. There was one point where we were sitting at like a little 2-person coffee table, you know, and we both like had our phone in our right hand and our drink in our left hand. And I was like, I started to cry a little bit because I'm like, we're mirroring and I didn't have a mirror before.
Oh
and
my
now
God.
I do. And then we didn't take any photos. We were so distracted by talking that we didn't take any photos.
I feel like that happens.
It's awful because my half-sister, she's lucky that her parents live near our bio mom. And so she's like gone to our house. And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, like she slept over. And I'm like, she's near Boston. And I'm like, that's not close for me. And it's really inconvenient. And I'm like, I want to spend more time with her. But like, she's running her own business. She's doing her own shit. Like, she's a very busy lady. But her 2 race kids live in New York. And so I'm like, if you all come down, we can just meet up. But it's hard because she's busy, I'm busy. And we only really met that one time. But it was still like, it felt like 2 hours went by in like 5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. I just feel like that meeting was something that was so...
It's so
like,
impactful for donor
It's so
conceived.
impactful.
I mean, it really is like when, and it's something that if there's any donors listening to it, I cannot tell you, no, they're not coming. The donor conceived people.
I don't want money.
We don't want money. We don't want money.
That's a bingo card right there.
Bingo card. We don't want money.
I don't want a new mom. I already have a mom.
We're not looking for a new parent, but just that literal singular meeting can be life-changing.
Oh, I sobbed when I went home.
Such a beautiful, positive way.
Yeah.
It's the literal least you can do.
Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna like meet up. It's not like the one and done, thankfully. It's just like we don't have time. But I'm like, even just the one.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I couldn't have imagined this in, you know, however many years I've been thinking my donor was dead. So I'm like, wow, what a flip. Because they're dead. That's gonna be the title of this episode.
Because they're dead. I really wish it could be, but I
no,
because I really do. Because like I can see people scrolling and like it's like, and they're just like, what the fuck? Because they're dead. What the hell is that? This changed.
Just complete clickbait.
Just complete clickbait.
Hey, I have a master's in marketing. I'm here for it.
I mean, I
don't condone clickbait. But yeah, I feel like just.
I mean, that whole section might be the clip that I put on social media because of clickbait.
I think, look, if I can be funny online and get views, all the better. That's what I'm here for. Well,
because all of the clips are always like so serious, and this might be one where it's just
we're funny.
That one is where it's just like this is a fun little clip.
No, just be like, and I thought they were dead, but no, like more seriously, I feel like just being able to like see your donor in the flesh, something that I would have never anticipated happening, and I'm really glad it did.
I am glad for you, and I hope this can inspire more people to have that as well.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I appreciate it. Where can people find you, support you?
Yeah. I'm on mainly Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch. All my users there are just rshifty, RSHIFTY.
Love it.
Mainly post about donor conception, being queer, all that fun millennial jazz.
What's your favorite like queer club in New York City to go to?
I don't know that many yet. I'm not that knowledgeable. I've been going to a lot of adult clubs, and we'll talk about that not on here.
Not on here.
I don't know that many queer clubs though. I really want to go to House of Yes. Everyone keeps talking it up.
Oh,
it's so far.
It's so far.
Because we're neighbors.
We're neighbors. We're not going to say where we're neighbors, but it is far for us. It's my roommate's favorite place.
I've heard so many good things about it.
My roommate loves House of Yes.
I really need to go, but it's just so far.
It is.
I'm like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I'm going to Book and Mirage on Tuesday, and I'm
Nice.
going with my partner, and I'm like, good, I'm gonna have scary dog privilege because it is far from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But have an amazing
I will
time.
try.
But yeah, we'll talk about more clubs afterwards.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again so much, and
course.
everybody have an amazing day. Thank you guys.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you for joining. Go
hug your mom.
Hug your mom and go watch Frozen 2.
Yeah. Hug your mom and watch Frozen 2 together. Because they're dead.
Because they're dead.